Alrighty, I'm pretty sure we're live, but hi everyone, how's it going? So, those of you who are unfamiliar with what's going on in the realm of Dungeons and Dragons and the massive uproar that has become over this OGL. So, for those of you who have absolutely no idea what this OGL even is, it's simply a piece of documentation that, long story short, says, "Hi, I am Wizards of the Coast, creator of Dungeons and Dragons. And for that, I have created this game for anyone and everyone to play. Here is a bunch of modules for you to use. Should you have already played those and find those boring, with this documentation, anyone else can make third-party content compatible with Dungeons and Dragons, and we won't sue you." Essentially allowing creators, publishers, third-party creators such as myself, DM Dave, Gaming Brew, Kefacel Tales, XP to level 3 with his Grim Hollow, Critical Role even. They all are capable of just simply making whatever they need, want, publish it, sell it on the market, or whether it be your local game store or Patreon or Kickstarter or whatever the fuck. And they won't sue you. You could literally just make it and they don't care because you're kind of upselling the game at that point. Well, recently they have just announced that the OGL, well, they haven't announced, let me rephrase that. It's been leaked that the OGL is being updated in a sense. So what is going to happen that has been leaked is several things. And it's a big, long documentation that's a bunch of mumbo jumbo for those of you who are not within the legal systems, such as myself. But I would like to point out big points of it. So we often refer to what it was for the past 20 years with the OGL as 1.0, and this new coming one that is supposedly going to drop next week is referred to as 1.1. So the original OGL 1.0 was relatively a short document coming to about 900 to 1,000 words and just had a simple message of, you can make stuff, we won't sue you, here you go, have a nice day. Whereas the new one is borderline 9,000 words long, and it takes a strong stance against third-party creators. And the biggest focal points on it that everyone is taking from it is all creators earning over 50,000 a year must report their earnings to Wizards of the Coast, as well as if they wish to make new content, you must report that to the Wizards of the Coast before you can publish it. Revenue, not profit, revenue. Any money coming in that has not been sorted, that is literally just sales, not anything getting put into labor, publicizing fees, legal bullshit for like trademarking and copyright documentations and patents and other stuff like that. Anything to secure yourself or to invest into new content, none of that. Raw money coming into you. Even before taxes. Exceeding 750,000 calendar days to make a year. So 1 year, you make more than 750,000, you are subjected to 20 to 25% royalties to Wizards of the Coast. On top of that, Wizards of the Coast will automatically have a claim to anything you create before you even submit it to anywhere you're selling it. So literally, as I said previously, you make something, you have to basically show your work to the teacher before they will allow you to put it up onto the bulletin board in the front hall. With that, they also have the ability to take it and repackage it however they please. So in other words, they are allowed to plagiarize and get away with it. That is how serious this is. Anything that is not a PDF or a book is not allowed outside the fan policy, which includes virtual tabletops, phone apps, etc. Any past OGL is immediately revoked, despite the original intent of 1.0, and will no longer honor the agreement, claiming it as it being deauthorized. Granted, this could be fought in court, but Wizards has more money and lawyers than they know what to do with, and they'll simply just milk you until you have nothing left to give, and they basically win the court default. So, what does this mean for the Arcane Tavern? Well, for me, I have been getting ready to drop some big content of my own. I was getting ready to begin releasing Zetithia adventures, allowing you to literally take the Legend of the Crystals, the Great War of Neverwinter, the Second Great War, the Eldritch War, the Underworld War, and a bunch of miscellaneous little quests that I've put together over the 10 plus years that I've been running my games or playing as Johnny, Zyra, Zalar, Navok, whatever my characters are, and I don't have very many of them. I literally just recycle them and re-level them up. So I will reset their level, and depending on where in the story the actual main story would lie, I would fit that into their timeline. So with the Legend of the Crystals, you all will meet Zyra at a very young age. And she will probably be a level 1 if she were to be a DMPC. However, the First Great War is when she was still going level to 20, because I was running her in a different way, but it's a different point in her lifetime. So I would recycle these characters and basically use all these different adventures to make one massive character story. Like a life story. And I was planning originally to publicize some adventure books relating to all of this. And with this OGL thing, that's all put to a stop. And because I'm a professional dungeon master, game master, I get called out to places, and some people will even pay me to run things. Like a couple months ago, I was called out to my local game store. I show up to like 2-3 times a week anyway, and they said, hey, if you run Dungeons and Dragons for this charity event, we'll pay you. And whatever money you raise will go towards charity, but we'll at least pay you for taking your time out and running this, because it was supposed to be a 34-hour event. And I said, sure, no problem. People pay me to come out and run games. So I'm technically a professional. With that, and how much I make content-wise and brainstorm and invent, like chatters, that was a thing that I had created. There was multiple creatures throughout the Zetithia Legend of the Crystal story that I have made. And I was going to make a bestiary that was a lot of creatures that I had come up with. And now I can't with this OGL, out of fear that my content will be just straight up stolen and had the Wizards of the Coast logo slapped right on it. So, what is to become of the Arcane Tavern? When this passes? When this happens. Because there's no if at this point. The way that it's uproaring, the only way this isn't happen is if Wizards of the Coast realize we're making a mistake, which, being how much of a cash grab they're trying to make this, and how many probably NDAs are out there and exclusive agreements are going to be made, like, there's a good chance Critical Role is going to have their own license agreement that exempts them from the OGL and has them under different terms of service, because Wizards of the Coast has bought content from Critical Role. They've literally bought it to make it canon. So kind of Critical Role works with Wizards of the Coast, but doesn't, type thing. It's the official, unofficial content, in a sense. But there's many of us who don't get that privilege. And we will have to abide by Wizards' shenanigans. So I have, for the past few days, been writing up my own TTRPG called Adventures Within. I am taking what 5th edition is and expanding it and reworking it. I will explain more later when the core rulebook is written. I am essentially doing what Pathfinder has does, where it's the Dungeon Master, Game Master's Guide, Helper, Handbook, whatever, and the Player's Handbook for the races, classes, feats, features, XYZ, 1, 2, 3, all in one book. And I'll even start linking it in the descriptions of all of my videos and lives to anyone wants to take a peek at it and run Adventures Within, by all means. Now, is there going to be a license similar to the OGL where you can make content exclusive like for Adventures Within? As of right now, no. I don't have any intentions of doing that because it's not going to get as big as it will. If it does get big, maybe. I doubt it. But it's something that I will simply run as my own thing. That is essentially what AD&D is. A lot more intense, but still simple. We taking a nap. She's adorable. But this Sunday coming, tomorrow, as of this stream, tomorrow, session will be ran as normal. We will be running a normal D&D session, 5th edition session. When all hell blows over, Zetithia is put to a stop because I will need to rewrite lots and lots of lore since Zetithia literally houses Faerun. And I'm going to have to take that out, put something new in, and rewrite so much content to avoid wizards swiggity swooty coming after my booty. Now, with all this being said, when it's put on hold, we are debating on whether or not we let our player Sean, or who commonly refers to either Venus or Minea or Goran, running a Call of Cthulhu game in the background while I take the time to work everything. Now, with this being said, I have mentioned several times over the course of the campaign that I want to take the campaign and write it as a book, but I had the anxiety of having to rewrite things because of D&D copyrights. If I were to start running this as Adventures Within, I wouldn't have that anxiety because Adventures Within is my own creation. And if I just use that as a guidebook to the books, novel series, like a light novel series, I wouldn't have that anxiety. So it would help me in the long run making this TTRPG rather than having to deal with whatever Wizards of the Coast cash grab nonsense that's stuck in their head. Well, with that, there's my 2 cents. If anyone has any questions or concerns or whatever, or even want to help me with this Adventures Within, or even financially supporting the tavern to get this all built back up, feel free to drop a comment or leave me a message within our Discord that we always are active in. I'm always active there. It's literally my little safe haven. And I'm slowly turning it into a D&D safe haven. What has once been like my little corner of the internet, little kind of vlog. I guess you could call it a vlog because it's a video log of all of my sessions. That is what the Arcane Tavern was originally supposed to be, but now it has become literally like a world point. We have artists who have kickstarted their art business through me, and a lot of the people in the tavern commissioning them. We have a bunch of people in the tavern finding other people to play games with, whether it be Magic or D&D or some other form of tabletop or just straight up video games like Call of Duty, Fortnite, or whatever. We have been a little safe haven for gamers and tabletop gamers alike. And I'm simply just the spotlight and the face of the platform. The Arcane Tavern isn't going away, but big changes are coming. And I just feel entitled to have to let all of you guys know so that when there's a big change in content within how I run games, like an easy example, you're all familiar with when you make a roll, you have to meet a certain DC difficulty class. Like this spell must meet your spell save DC. Well, instead, it will have to meet or beat your MAL, M-A-L, magical armor level. or if it's a physical attack, just straight up your armor level. Little teaser for what's to come in this book I'm making. Classes are being rewritten. New classes are coming. Brynel's Blood Mage and Zalar's Blood Mage class will be put into this as a core class, as well as other classes that are simply unheard of. Things that you wouldn't think would actually be. And with that, I will simply leave my 2 cents before spoiling anything more within this core book. It's going to take a long time for me to finish because I am basically reinventing D&D, but not D&D, if that makes sense. I'm taking the simplicity of 5th edition, taking what I like of Call of Cthulhu, Pathfinder, and other tabletops, and merging them into one, as well as adding lots of my own mechanics. Like, I'm debating on whether or not I put the soul essence system in for like an MP thing. But we'll see when the time comes. And for right now, things will go as normal until the nuclear bomb hits. When that hits, that is when things will begin to change drastically around here in terms of how games are ran. Because I will refuse and boycott Dungeons and Dragons as a whole. What they're doing is unacceptable to creators as a whole. You are literally killing jobs. Won't be running Dungeons and Dragons on stream, in person, in private. I will literally not buy any merchandise relating to Dungeons and Dragons. I bought a resin printer recently. I'm going to make use of it now. Problem is getting my hands on the STLs, but the internet exists. I'm bound to find them, or I could hire people to make them. It's not that big of a deal. But with that being said, changes are coming. You have been warned. Don't say I didn't. I will see you all tomorrow. And with that, you have a good